Hello. The lovely Els said the normal routine is to walk down the hall and bow, which is very respectful. I've known Polly for 30 years. I thought a wave might be better than a bow. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Scott. We're here, of course, to remember our amazing friend, Polly. I'm probably not alone here. How many of you found it difficult to call her Polly instead of Donna? After 30 years, I still got it wrong every time. I had to stop and think. But I've got to say one thing. I will always, from here on in, think of her as Polly and not as Donna. No matter how many times. I know, Chris, you've done it too. You occasionally make a bit of a mistake. In any case, as she said, from one of her emails when she asked everybody to call her Polly, and most of you know why, she said, "I know it's a challenge to call me by my long-lost name, but I'd be so honoured if you all would do so. If you do not, of course I'll forgive you. Even if I do then decide to call you all George." So, for those of us who screw up from time to time, we're George. But the important thing, I think, we're here to remember Polly, of course, but as we know, Team Donna, and most of you know what that means, is the reason that Polly is here, and it's the reason that she became, I'm very proud to say on her behalf, a whole person. She came home, and with impeccable timing, of course, she always had impeccable timing. She came home, and I remember the last thing she said to me, that all she ever wanted was to be able to love truly, to be loved, to be able to trust, and to be whole. And she said, I did it. I got there. And it was an amazing ride. So we're all here to honour a very, very important person. A very organised person too, by the way. As I think most people will attest in this room, there's not one part of the journey that Polly took from September through to today that wasn't organised, planned, thought out, and not just for herself and what she might be going through and the journey that she was going to take, but what all of you were experiencing every step of the way. Her thoughts were with everybody, with Chris. There's not one aspect of what Chris is going through today that Polly didn't make sure was well supported, well thought out, well transitioned. Somebody said to me recently, Polly, she's doing this dying thing really well, isn't she? And I went, you know what? Yes, she is, incredibly well, but then she did everything incredibly well. She treated everything with amazing determination and joy, an absolute wonder about life. She loved life. She was in love with life. Right to the very end, she said she would have kept living with, even if she had a little inch of life in her little finger, she'd still be here. She just didn't want to be here on the terms that life was saying she would have to be. But she loved it. We had a great day on her last day. Also, yeah, as I say, she's very, very organised. The service you're reading from today, I think, was version 3 of the service for today, from the 1st of March. So this has all been locked in from the 1st of March. Not what I'm going to say, because I haven't really written anything. I'm just going to tell you things that are important to me. But certainly the order of service, all locked in. One of the things I did do, though, she had the list of her own poems and her music, of course, that she wants to play today for you. And I asked her, how would you like me to introduce everybody as they come up to do their readings and to say a few words? Because she hadn't really thought about it. And I said, look, this might be an opportunity for you to just say one last thing. Because we all know Donna Polly loved to talk. The thing is, of course, I think there's probably not one person in the room who even secretly, and I'm probably saying something here that was going to belie the fact that I've known her for so long, who didn't once, every now and then say, could you just shut up? Please shut up. Because she talked a lot. But the thing is, what she said was always so insightful, so interesting, that you didn't mind. You knew that no matter how long she took, you were going to listen to every last piece. And I was saying to Andrew just a moment ago, even though she talked a lot, and you might not have always got a word in edgewise, when you did, there's nobody on the planet who listened like Polly did. And she didn't have to hear much about what you had to say, because she already knew what was going on inside you. And one of the things that's incredible about her was her ability to be able to read people so well, to be able to understand what they were going through, to be able to show a sense of empathy that I don't think many people in the world can show. And she didn't have the sort of boundaries that a lot of us have. As she often said to me, we came from very different worlds when we met. I was middle class, private school, all that kind of stuff, and not very proud of the fact. I was going to uni, I wanted to be a bit grungy. She came from a completely different perspective. And while she helped me to maybe get the stick out of my arse, I suppose, I think for her, getting to know me was an opportunity to realise that it was okay for her to be who she was. So we kind of broke down those boundaries, and it's something that she's, I think, done for everybody. Probably everybody in this room, I'm guessing. There's lots of nods going on. In any case, so I asked her how she'd like to introduce everybody. So she, as she was wont to do, got to the computer and started typing. And within a couple of minutes, she had sent through a little introduction for everybody. So she's done one for me, so it'd be remiss of me not to read it by way of introduction. And if nothing else, it's kind of a nice way to hear her voice today. It's kind of, actually, to be perfectly honest, that's why I asked her to do it, so that I knew she'd have a little bit of say in what happened today, other than organising it within an inch of its life. So, her words for me. So, Scotty, or Mr. Mac, also known as Tim in Nobody Nowhere, has been my pal for over 30 years, since he was 19 and I was 22. He became my safe playmate in a special world we made in a shared house. My muse and fellow muso who brought my music out of the shadows of chronic fight-flight, locked in secrecy within my own world, and showed me it could exist safely in the external world. We journeyed together, watching each other up close and from a distance. We were each other's safety nets, no matter how messed up we were. That was a lot. Later, as non-biological siblings and dag pals, sharing singing and, of course, musicals. Can't help that. And his palship with Chris has made him a pivotal part of our family. Scotty was always there in the dark nights of the soul, including my first and second and final cancer journeys. Front row all the way to the end of the show, which is lovely. I wasn't expecting her to write one for me, and I'm so glad she did, because it's really lovely to hear that. Maybe that's very selfish of me, isn't it? Very lovely to hear that today. So really, it was a case of how to write a tribute for a friend I've known for so long. My life has been all about Polly in that sense. I didn't have it. Right through my adulthood, I haven't had a life without her, so it's a very odd experience. As I said, she has transitioned us well. Whereas some people who leave suddenly without that transition might leave you desperately lost. With Polly, I know this sounds a bit trite to say, but I kind of feel found. I don't know if you feel that, Chris. Feel found and based. Yeah. So I tried. I wrote down a couple of different things. I wrote down some of our history. I thought we could talk about the journey she took from difficult childhood, life on the streets, university and music where we met. Best-selling author, of course, autism consultant, painter, sculptor, teacher, wife, confidant to a lot of people probably in this room, and a complete and utter happy dag. If there's one thing you could say about Polly, one word to describe this woman apart from sensational, she's just a dag. And she loved other people being dags. So I could have written all that, but look, you've read her books, you know, you've read her blogs, you've seen her video You've seen her take you through the journey of the last months. You've probably been also subject to her very prescriptive and usually incredibly accurate advice. We've all been lucky enough to have that. So I didn't quite know what to say, and I started thinking about her final day with us, which is, Chris, you'll probably talk a bit about this a little later, I'm guessing, was a really amazingly joyous day. I can't begin to I should introduce this, by the way, before we move on. For me, right now, this is Polly. On her last day, this colour has been special for her and I, and tinsel generally. But on her last day, I took this in as her little flying scarf. And so there's a bit of her in there. The reason I brought it was partly for me, partly to put a bit of sparkle out there, and also for anybody else who's getting up to say a few words, to know that she's right here with you. Anyway, so yeah, I tried to think about that and I thought about it, and we, on that last day, we danced and sang in the hospital. I should say she told us to dance and sing, and when Polly told you to do something, you did it. No matter how much you really didn't want to. And I've got to tell you, on that day, as you can imagine, I think the last thing Chris, Morgana and Marisol, if you're there, wanted to really do was, we're streaming, by the way, for those people who don't know. Marisol over in Philadelphia is probably watching us, hopefully right now or soon. We really didn't want to get up and sing and dance. This was our last day, and we were kind of a bit sad. But Polly wasn't, and she was right, as she always was. We got up, we danced reluctantly. Before we knew it, we were having a party, and as Chris said, we were worried that we'd have the nurses come in and tell us to quiet it down because there's sick people here. But as it happened, they didn't, because I think they were quite happy that we were doing it. So with that in mind, I really wanted to make sure that today was very much in keeping with how Polly left this world. As she often said, take shit, make sculptures. She made the best of every single moment in life. And dancing and being a dad was her thing, so bear with me, because what I'd like to do, and you're all going to hate me for this with a passion, because you know what I'm going to do, you know what's coming, don't you? Do you? Have you worked it out yet? It's not that hard. This is a song that, that Polly and I used to dag about to in the house in the 80s. Starts kind of sad, not sad, starts kind of slow, but I think you'll know the song, and I think that she'll expect most of you to either get up, or if you can't get up, just dance away in your seat. But people like Chris, you can get up and dance with me. I think, as she would say, just get up off your ass and dance with me. This is the sad bit. But you know what, it's kind of cute when you think about where she is. She's happy though. And my problems have all gone. They have, haven't they? You ready? There is no one told you right. But you got to have friends. The feelings are so strong. I got to have Keep dancing. Oh, thank you for that. That's awesome. Thanks, guys. That was lovely. I think she would have loved it. And look, one of the things about that too, as we were going through these last months, obviously there's a lot of sad times, a lot of weird, daggy, happy times as well. And she'd say to Chris a lot, and to most people who felt sad, it's okay to feel sad, it's perfectly fine. But being sad doesn't keep you connected to her or anybody that you've lost. She'd say you've always got other tools in your pocket. You've got happiness and joy and wonder and curiosity, and it's all okay to bring those out. Bring those out and use them, because it doesn't diminish love by being happy at a sad time, it enriches it. And it's really important to remember, sad goes with happy. One thing I have written down here, I've known Polly for most of my life. We were each other's safe havens in a broken world. And without each other, we might not have made it through, and I mean that in the truest sense of the word, but we did. We came from different worlds, but we taught each other it was okay to be us, to be real, and as Polly would often say, to simply be. We both looked at each other at the very end and were able to say, we made it, we're whole, and I don't think it really gets much better than that. So today you're going to hear a lot of Polly's music. So for those of you who didn't realise, all the music that is played, certainly during the service anyway, is all Polly's. There was some music that she recorded with Anthony playing on the way through. And of course there'll be a lot of poems read by friends and family. The first of Polly's poems to be read is going to be read by Sandy Jeffs. It's called Thought. Is that right, Sandy? I got the right one? What have you got?
I'm reading Birth of the Days and Afterlife.
Ah, okay, cool. I must have the wrong version of the running sheet. I'll bring it up with the author. Yeah, but what I will do, Sandy, what I will do is I'll read out her little introduction for you.
For Anthony? Me? For Anthony? Anthony's first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well that's easy enough. I'll just scroll down here to Anthony. Flexible if nothing else. Flexible if nothing else. So this is Dandelion. Am I right? Got it right? Fantastic. Here's your introduction then, Anthony. So Anthony Julian, the surreal living Willy Wonka. The musical metronome and living embodiment of all the wackadoo of my father, Jackie Paper. Anthony Julian and I were unstoppable balls of musical energy and silliness. He joined the Aspenauts as our second keyboard player, soon became co-writer, and finally it was him and I as the final two Aspenauts, standing in a duo that continued to do rock musicals at theatre around Melbourne. He travelled with me to autism conferences, tag-teamed, giving his Aspie counterpoint to my Auti reality. We did improv and comedy workshopping, and I played Agony Auntie until he became mine when Chris was in a serious condition in 2011 and I was a mess. Anthony was like a blend of every kid's cereal thrown into a jar, diverse, marvellously odd, out of the box. I live on in this crazy, wacky little brother. After you, sir.
Thank you, Scott. There it is. My phone's being slow. This poem is called Dandelion. She signed her name with a small flower. A dandelion, I'm told. Her symbol of resilience in an often cutting world. She'd been cut down, she'd been trampled, but she'd just grow back up again. She used her pain as fertiliser and grew a garden full of friends.
You introduce the visual tribute? Great.
Right, so next up we have I guess a traditional slideshow with photos of Polly and also paintings by her. And with no further ado, Els, if you would, in the booth at the back, please could you make it so?
She came from a dream and then suddenly emerged as so much more than she used to be, and the world was like her oyster shell. Its pearly lights, they cast a spell so strong, so strong. The treasure she could feel only finally to others. Nothing real, only pleasant like the sound of leaves, the feel of wind, the music and their words. But she held on, she held on. When defy what they felt inside, she seemed so mystified that they hid behind some law they called normality, defying rationality. All gone, when more than the prince on the page, where ocean deep, just look for the person beyond the face, where more than the bonds of free love gilded cage, where free as we ever might dare to be. Someday someone asked why, and then suddenly a shadow did reply, and then finally a magic seemed to touch some soul. Contagiously it spread to the whole world, the whole world. Where more than the prince on the page, where ocean deep, just look for the person beyond the face, where more than the bonds of free love gilded Close your eyes, can you see me? In your mind, am I real? In your heart, can you feel me? And do you dare believe in time beyond the present, past, or future? Can your mind conceive of a place where someone's thoughts can reach you? Do you recall? I've seen you there from when we met. I saw you look beyond the when, beyond the where. Though no one's there, you feel someone touch you. And though there is no voice, you know the words. You can feel a shadow brushing past you. Then I reach out and touch your face. You look around, there's no one there. You stumbled on that special place, the place beyond the when, beyond the where. In some rare moment I might need you, just to feel I'm not alone. I close my eyes so I can see you. Then I cross the line of fantasy, where even if I'm not alone, here is the place I feel free. Escape into a twilight zone. And do you recall? I've seen you there for when we met. I saw you look beyond the when, beyond the where. Sleeping Beauty slept, she never heard the castle fall. And all the things she could have been were just graffiti on the walls. Destiny had knocked, but no one answered to the call. Time is a thief which steals the chances that we never get to take. It steals them while we are asleep. Let's make the most of it while we are still awake. I saw a dawn that day we touched, awakened unaware, warm as if the sun had run its fingers through my hair. And in half words I had tried to share that realness, that feeling that was home. The words defied my mind, the poetry got lost within the poem. Time is a thief which steals the chances that we never get to take. It steals them while we are asleep. Let's make the most of it while we are still awake. Can we dream to fly when we can't walk before we grow. And just like grains of sand slip through your hands, we just let the chances fall. Destiny had not been no one answered to the call. Time is a thief which steals the chances that we never get to take. It steals them while we are asleep. Let's make the most of it while we are still awake. 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 While we are still awake.
From what I could see of the of the tiny little corner reflected in the window there, that was beautiful. I'll have to get you to send me a copy. So, as I said, Sandy, here's your introduction from Polly. I met the accomplished and published, rather decorated, but never decorative, mad poet Sandy Jeffs at a Crazy Chicks gig doing performance poetry around 2010. She was real, raw, a dag, and we were prolific fellow poets. We eventually did presentations together about being nutters, her out of the closet journey with her own madness, and mine with post-traumatic stress disorder and dissociative identity disorder. She would ask about my autism and I would notice her aspiness. We'd compare notes on her plaguing, harrowing external voices and the surreal, arty, insightful, playful, neurotic, or spit-out-your-tea blunt ones that chatted away in my head, which I ultimately considered my team. We talked about the normality of being mad, of people in the closet about things they had to walk with every day of their lives, took the piss out of stereotypes, ate chocolate, met up every month or so, communing as comrades, ex-soldiers, mad hatters of our own variety.
Gee whiz. What do I say after that? So I'm reading a poem called Those Were the Days, a poem by Polly, obviously. Those were the days of helicopter seed pods, of shredded dandelion snow, of rainbows in ice. Like two sides of the coin, heads, tails, heads and tails, and the tales we could tell. Instead, we shall remember the 10% and wring it like an orange in the desert, feeling its last drops upon the parched tongues of we, the veterans who survived, to tell tales indeed of helicopter seed pods, of shredded dandelion snow, and rainbows in ice. So it's, yes, D, Anthony and I.
Yeah, that's
So
all.
how shall we do this?
All good. Come on up, Anthony and Dee.
Everyone come up.
The only person that hasn't been introduced yet, of course, is Dee. So just before you start, so Dee, from my homeless early teens, oopsie days, let me just pull that back again. In the streets of once grungy 1970s Fitzroy, Dee, also known as Robin in Nobody Nowhere, Cat's Out of the Bag, was my non-biological twin sister. I was at my third of 4 high schools, largely illiterate and innumerate, and living in a duffel coat, when she took me home to the commission flats that became my primary home from age 13 to 15. She set me free to be a kid, to sing and play and share homemade salmon patty sandwiches. She tickled my arm until I fell asleep with all my PTSD and nightmares, and calmed my fight-flight body I let nobody else get close to. kind, sweet, daggy sister. She'll carry me forward from here.
Okay, so we have the speech written by me and edited by Polly. my friend Donna. Hi, my name's Dee, and Donna and I met in early high school. I got myself in trouble with a lot of the kids because of my honesty about my life. Donna befriended me, took me under her wing and became my friend. Although I did make friends with other kids at school, she held me by the hand and protected me, saved me. I'd been brought up not rich, but lived on farms with both of my parents until they separated, and then moved into housing commission flats with my mum. Donna took me to her house. Oh, how big it was. A double story. You could take food out of the cupboard without asking. So different to my one pension flat. Donna's room was up the stairs, an attic bedroom, really very quaint. On the outside, Donna was just like any other teenager, but oh boy, on the inside was a whole different person. Donna and I would sit under a tree outside my block of flats and sing. Oh, how we loved to sing. To Sue with Love, Love Story, etc. They were never sung with such feeling from two 13 or 14-year-olds. On the weekends, I'd go stay with my dad in Bayswater, and quite often Donna would come with me. We loved our time at Birch Street, Bayswater, being teenagers, away from our reality and enjoying the company of each other. Whether we were tickling arms, walking around the streets or roller skating at the Bayswater roller rink. Sometimes we even went to Knox City Shopping Centre and used to run around the centre like we didn't have a care in the world. Donna took me to her ballet school as I loved to dance. Donna taught me to use her point shoes. Oh, how grand I felt. Donna and I remained close friends for quite a few years. She was pushed out of home and lived with a couple of awful people, but all the time we dreamed of being grown-ups. Oh, how different our lives would be. We would sing and dance forever and a day. I remember when I moved out of home into my flat, we made scones, which was so hard we threw them against the lounge wall and they bounced off. Time moved on. Donna and I went our separate ways. Donna to uni to become who she became, a great teacher, and myself a mother. In recent times, we got our friendship rekindled. It is as if we'd never been parted. The friendship and love is still the same as it was 40 years ago. My old friend and I will always remember our times together. I will always cherish the times that we have shared, no regrets. Our friendship taught us both a lot about ourselves and life. No matter what, I will always remember you, my friend, and you will live on in my heart and the heart and lives of many people. You will never be forgotten.
Something Polly taught me at various points through our adventures, as it were, was the art of improv. And since I haven't really prepared anything, that's basically what you're going to get today. And I guess there's not a lot I can say, really, that hasn't already been said about Polly. And I certainly wasn't expecting hearing a speech from her, and that was amazing. I guess I've known Polly since 2009, and as you would have heard, we performed together in the Aspenauts and subsequently recorded many of the music. But I would like to share one memory I have in particular of being in the Aspenauts, and I actually came across this on her blog this morning. It somehow came to my mind, and I figured, well, I'll have another read of that. And then I thought, well, hey, I may as well share it with you all today. It's called How the Aspenauts Foiled a Robbery, and this is dated August 6, 2010. Yesterday, me and the Aspenauts were performing at Autism Victoria's Expo. It was a huge swoosh venue, Ridges on Bell, in not-so-swoosh Preston, where I'm from. I'm a guest speaker on the day, and the band was to perform during cocktail hour. Well, I set up a table, books, CDs, DVDs, art prints, all of that, and did some book signing, sold some stock, got people to sign a petition lobbying our short-sighted government to reverse the funding cuts for OTs and social workers under mental health. All was rather tickety-boo, really. Heather met up with us. Hi, Heather. An Aspie we knew from the Auties.org dinner club. I cannot speak today. Anthony, the keyboard player from the Aspenauts, helped me attend the stall. I went and did my talk on marriage and relationships on the autism spectrum. Everyone happy. It was around 4 p.m. when we started to set up down the other end of the events hall. Hardly anyone present. We decided to move the stock table down towards the stage so I could keep an eye on it during our performance. I took my handbag, checked it was locked, wrapped its strap around it, and obscured it amongst the music bags we stored under the table. Around 5 p.m, people trickled in and we took the stage, singing our usual Aspenauts madness, mixed with beat poetry, gestural signing and fun, and all streamed live via video to other regional branches. By 5:05, a group of about 12 people had gathered in front of my stock table, obscuring it. But behind the table was a woman who'd taken a seat, my seat, behind the table, looking as though she was attending the stall. I figured she was maybe a parent or someone on the spectrum just taking a nest there. Heather held up her bag, pointing to it and then to the back of my stall. I gave her the thumbs up. Sure, she could store her bags safely back there, no problem. I figured I'd better let this small crowd know I wasn't able to sell them books until after the show. So with the band improving to cover me, I wandered over, mic'd up with my wireless mic and told them. They dispersed slowly, the woman still sitting in my chair. On my way back to the stage, I noticed my bag. It was still on the floor, but now unwound, opened and towards the front of the table. I went to it, opened it, and realised with dread my red and black purse was absent. I looked at the woman behind my stall, pointed to her and said, "You will stay there. You won't move. You have been there the entire time." I swear she really did say it like that. Then I took the stage. I announced to the audience, "Someone get security immediately. My red and black purse has been stolen." Heather went to look for hers. Her purse was missing. "Mine too," she called. I made the announcement again. "There are 2 stolen purses. Please get security immediately." The woman moved to sit behind the next table, edging her way to the exit. "Okay then, they say the show must go on," I said, then continued to sing and perform our set as the room waited for security. A staff member then came to the stage addressing me. "I've seen it. She's got it. Your purse is in her bag." The guys in the band improvised as I strode off the stage to the woman. "You have my purse. You will give it to me immediately. Empty your bag," I told her. She went through the motions of going through her bag with one hand as the other, obscured by a coat, moved about. My purse fell under the table in full view of the room. "It's on the floor. She's dropped it," called someone. I picked up my purse. "Heather, this woman has your purse." I called out, heard by the whole room. Heather's purse then dropped onto the floor under the table. Security arrived. I won't go on and read the whole blog because it's pretty self-explanatory, but those who know the song Beautiful Behavioural Mutations, if you can sort of imagine that dialogue going on during an instrumental break, that's basically what happened there that day. Yes, so I guess there's not really much else to say, but I do know for a fact I wouldn't be the person who I am today had I not met Polly. And I'll always be grateful for the friendship and everything she's taught me, and friendship to Chris, obviously. And although I miss her, I know she's not really gone. It's like her essence is still around. Even when I was at Chris's the other day, she was still in the back garden with us. Yeah. Thanks.
In Polly's meticulous planning, She forgot to tell me I was doing a tribute today. So I'm sorry if this is a bit sort of all over the shop. Yes, we did meet at the Crazy Chick show. It was a show put on by the Raw House community, and it was a performance by women, all of us in various states of madness or whatever else you want to call it. There were poets, there were singers, there were songwriters. It was a really great show, and I remember that night hearing Polly perform and being absolutely in awe of her performance abilities. The way she performed a poem was consummate, and she was the consummate professional at doing it. She was wonderful. We then had another gig at the Eltham Literary Festival where we told our stories, our rather fraught stories, at a forum, and again I was in awe of Polly's performance command and the way she did it. And from then on we formed a friendship of around our poetry. I used to go to Polly's place and we would workshop poems. She did some marvellous editing on some of my poems, though I must say I've got an issue with some of the punctuation in the poems I'm reading today with her, so I need to talk to Polly about her punctuation. But apart from that, she did some marvellous editing on my poems, some of which found their way into a book. Now, I was actually in awe of the way Polly could get involved in a subject and get all the technical lingo down pat. She would have every nuance of the subject in her head and on the page, and she would just get so involved in the subject. She became the expert in a rather profound way, and I was in awe of that. And I sort of am half expecting a posting on Facebook from Polly from the afterlife, in which she'll be critiquing the afterlife, again, with the technical lingo down pat. I'm not sure when it's going to come, but she was a social media person, and I'm sure there's social media from the afterlife to come, so stand prepared for the Facebook posting. We did call each other Dag 1 and Dag 2, so I'd get emails from Polly. I think I was Dag 2, actually. She was Dag 1, I was Dag 2. Why was she Dag 1? I wonder why. But she was always Dag 1. In fact, we did get some talks together about me being crazy and about her own issues. And I remember at the talk how it was really hard for me to get a word in. I wonder why. She was very eloquent and very involved, and she sort of took over the whole show, and I'm thinking, actually I'm here too to give a talk, but you know, Polly wasn't quite cognizant of that, and it was a great talk in the end, but I did find myself trying to weave my way into her narrative some way, and it was a little bit difficult. So, yes, I was Dag 1, she was Dag 2. We emailed, we spoke on the phone, and I did meet with her to do poetry. Her poetry was cut through all the crap poetry. She cut through the crap of life with her poetry, with the way she saw the world, the way she understood the world, the way she interrogated the world. It was always cut through the crap, and I really admired that about her. I loved it, because in Polly's life there was no crap. And I think that she was true and honest with everybody and everything, and that was what I really admired about her. And there was no pulling the wool over her eyes, because she just knew things, and she had some 6th or 7th or 8th or 100th sense, I think. I do have a story though. I loved her humour. We laughed a lot. We cacked ourselves laughing. It was extraordinary how much we laughed. You might not appreciate this story, but it amused me, and I have to tell it. About 2 weeks before Polly left this world, bodily, that is, I came to visit Polly and Chris, and we were talking about things, and she said, oh, they had this moment with the palliative care lady. They were there with the palliative care lady, and the lady was talking in a very palliative care lady voice, saying, it's your journey, Polly, and we're on this journey with you, and blah, 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 blah. And Polly said she grabbed Chris's arm and started singing Kumbaya. Now, Chris didn't sort of get the Kumbaya moment. I got the Kumbaya moment big time. I thought, this is a Kumbaya moment. So I emailed Polly about 2 days later and said, Polly, I can never now hear anybody sing Kumbaya and not think of you and the Kumbaya palliative care moment. And Polly, in her inimitable fashion, emailed back saying, yep, and she sent me a YouTube clip of the Seekers singing Kumbaya. That amused me so much. I just cacked myself laughing when I got that email. I thought, oh, this is so funny. And so we shared this humour, a profound humour, laughing at life, laughing at the absurdities of life and the crap of life, and sort of cutting through all the issues. And so for me, my memories of Polly are sitting with her, laughing, talking about cats. We've all got cats. I've got a psychopathic cat at home that's out of control. And I asked Polly, could she be a cat whisperer for me and help me with my psychopathic cat? And she sort of was trying to help me, but it didn't really, couldn't cut through the crap of that one. But we did talk about cats, we talked about poetry, we talked about life, we talked about the universe, and I just admired Polly's, just as I said, cut through the crap way of seeing the world. It was so refreshing and so, for her, enabling and so edifying. And she lived life with great grace, great profundity, and great humour, and that's what I loved about Polly. So I will miss Polly. I'll miss our laughter and the poetry and everything else, but it was great to have the time with her that I had. But she was a 1.5 woman. She was 1 in a million girl, boy, 1 in a million girl woman who I really valued knowing for the short time that I did. Thank you.
Yes, it appears I'm next again. This is a poem by Poey. Who's Poey? A poem by Polly. I can just picture now, if she were here, she would be laughing her ass off at me. In an encouraging way, of course. The poem is called Diamond Flower. The diamond sparkled chandelierly. An Aussie fell into delight. But the squealing in the jeweller's window was met with no one's shared delight. Then the flower was so shreddable. In glee, its petals fell like snow. She gathered them into her mouth. The flower gone, no one would know.
Of all the readings, I really love that one. That's pure Polly. That's how she spoke. She spoke poetry constantly. I just love that. Next to come up to talk, we've got Polly's cousin Dave and brother Johnny and nieces Jacqueline and Genevieve. Your introduction's kind of long. You're welcome to come up now if you want. And wait, but they're kind of long, so if you want to get comfy for a second. This first one's for Dave. Born a few years before me, Dave and I shared the same mother, our Aughty grandmother, Nana Ruby. She loved us both as her own, this sunny, gentle, kind, creative, musical, animal-loving bag lady. Nana Ruby lived with Dave as a 2-year-old through the loss of his quiet, shy, very real biological mother, exiled from his life at age 2 through no fault of her own. Then she became my blessing, living with her partner, a World War I vet, Harry Williams, from before I was born, through 3 house moves until I was 4.5, when she lost Harry and Ruby was shipped away up bush. For too short a time and divided between 2 homes, Ruby was again Dave's mother and mother to my twin, Christina. All of us first cousins, Sherwells, all of us motherless, all of us carrying Ruby's character and therefore all 3 of us siblings. Dave was playful, sunny, naughty, sounds like somebody I know, and a mixture of my father's best traits and Ruby's, which was my father's mother. As a young adult in my early 20s, homeless once again, Dave took me in. He looked out for me, gave me a heads up if I was at risk from being stalked or ripped off. He treated me as a big brother should. And here's her words for Johnny. My younger brother Johnny was born when I was 6. I was from another world, a different house, a life he hadn't known. He grew up with me in what local kids called a mansion. It was a show house, a doll's house, you name it. Dirty money had bought it and stuck it in here behind the 6-foot brick fence and the wrought iron gates. It was a house with so many wild, no-holds-barred parties. It was like a house, but not a home. But this atmosphere we called our Vietnam, it was after the war, not the tourism, was the only normality he knew. Though I was the loony in the attic to some in the family, I was so humanised to him that I was not a case or broken goods, just the fun, amazing, magical sister who played with him, sang with him, dagged with him, taught him things and gave him more safety than anyone else in the house. I'd largely left by the time he was 7, and by 9 he virtually never saw me again except for a few times until I moved 10,000 miles away in 1991. It's a great achievement that after so many struggles with our baggage, we found ourselves finally on the same page in the last months of my life. Better late than never, and no regrets. And living on in his heart, we now have all the freedom we needed to be siblings and all the time in the world. And Jacqueline and Genevieve. Salt and pepper, yin and yang. Jacqueline and Genevieve are the daughters I never had. The children of my older brother, I didn't feel safe having contact until they were 18. Seeing Genevieve the last 4 years and her involvement with Chris and I has been wonderful, and getting to know Jacqueline this last 5 months, we've made up for lost times and the few visits time allowed us. I know they'll find me in the wisdom passed to them and in their hearts where they will carry me forward with them. So Dave, Johnny, Jacqueline and Genevieve.
Thanks, guys. I'd like just to say, basically, that my sister just said it all for me, and anything I'd say now would keep you here for hours and hours and hours, and I owe it to her to not do that. And I'm just thankful everyone's here. Thank you.
Not as organised as my auntie, so I'm really going to stick this one. I think I'm going to go with a past memory. I'm grateful to say that my auntie taught me how to ice skate. There was this, one great idea that she had that, you know, oh, you're a dancer, you'll be able to do it, you can pick it up. I've never shat myself so much in my life. She'd definitely call me shit, spit and grit. So we're out on the ice skating ring up in where is it? Docklands. And she's bloody marvellous. She can move. Well, I know she was daggy, but the grace and the elegance she put onto that rink, I never knew. And so she's going about, and here I am holding for my dear life on the side ring. What the hell have you done? What am I doing here? I don't want to be here. But it was very cool experience until she fell on her ass. She was trying to do this double pirouette thing, and I'm like, oh my God, she's broken a rib. What am I going to tell Uncle Chris? What do we do? Are you okay? I'm too scared to help you. Can you get up yourself? I can't let go of this thing here. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. As she said in her introduction for myself and my sister, that yeah, I will carry the wisdom that she passed down to me in the last 5 months that's helped me through. And I'll never forget it. And yeah, I can't say any more than what, you know, Anthony or Scott or anyone else will come up and say. I'll just be repeating. So yeah, thank you. Ta.
Hello. Thanks everyone for coming. As she knows, she's pretty planned and she knows I don't like speaking much and would always get me up. So I think it was 2010. I reached out to say hi and want to reconnect, and her answer was an email, "I pretty much don't want to talk right now." We didn't really have to say much to know what the other was thinking. We were pretty much able to read each other. I'm just grateful for everything that she was able to do and teach. She was such an open person and easy to communicate about anything, and the most important thing she taught me was to make sure that I love myself. Oh, I remember a time we first met. They came for dinner in the old house, well, I think it was lunch in the old house, and she's such an amazing artist and was trying to make conversation, and she had a painting that I really liked, and she was so open about everything. I thought it was these balloons that people were holding, these nice painted pink balloons being let into the air. Her response was, "Thank you, they're my nipples. I miss them." After that, I was a bit worried to ask what any of the paintings were again. Most of the time, we'd meet, we'd walk, we'd talk, we'd eat. Most of the time, we'd just sit and watch our love story romances and dream of another world that we could both live in. I'd tell her what I wanted and she'd tell me what she'd done. I'm just grateful for getting to have her in my life, and also bring Uncle Chris into being a part of it as well. So thanks everyone for coming.
Put on the spot, I had to write it while we're sitting here today, my speech. I'd just like to say, Scott at the start mentioned to me, Donna, like to be called Polly. Anyway, a long time ago, I get a phone call from a Polly. And I said, "Oh, I don't know a Polly. Who's Polly?" "It's your cousin Donna." I said, "Well, you're my cousin Donna, not Polly." "Oh, I've changed my name and my name's now Polly." I said, "Well, ever since I've been a little kid and you were a little kid, you've always been Donna. I won't call you Polly for the simple fact that it was Uncle Jack's name for you when you were a little girl. Like you said, you want to be George? You want to be George." She went quiet for a little while. She understood what I was saying. I said, I'll never call you Polly. I'm sorry, Donna. You're Donna this big, you're Donna this big. To me, you're like a little sister. You'll always be Donna. Your name will never be Polly because of, Dad called you that. So I never copped the name George. Dave got the okay to call her Donna. Right. One thing I will say, Chris, you're probably the best thing that ever happened to Donna. Said I wouldn't cry up here. Just many things over the years. Even when she was an adult, come and live with me, she couldn't find her place in life, like we all try and do. As we grow up as relatives, we all go our separate ways. But when we've all caught up again over the years, just to see how happy she was. Mate, you're a soul mate. What can I say? You're a fantastic couple together. When I come to her 50th, God, you wouldn't think there's anything wrong with her. Being English, she was partying like an animal. It was unbelievable. But I did, at the end of the day, I think I might have been the last one I left that day. I took her out of the car and I because we had our real close relationship with our Nana Ruby, who we both really loved. And now she's with her. We sit out there in my car. I think it was Christine brought the bag that day. We're out there, open up the bag. It smelled like Nana Ruby. Vicks Vapor Rub. She always smelled like Vicks Vapor Rub. It was just, we were both sitting there laughing. And I shared a song with her. Tom Waits song called Ruby's Arms. And we sat there and played that. Anyway, a day or two later she rings me in. She was so rapt that I shared this. It was just because it's called Ruby's Arms, the song itself, Nana Ruby. It's just something I wanted to share with her personal. Yeah, she was actually quite rapt that I shared that song with her. And you know, I wrote a bit of a, I'm going through a bit of this, what I've written here. Got that bit. Had many good memories as kids. Actually today on the way down, on a tour like you, John. 664 Bell Street, double-storey house. Then we went down to Bedrock Motors top yard. That's not there anymore. Bedrock Motors bottom yard. Oh, now it's flats. God, went up the car yards. Then we went to Danny's Hamburgers. Had a hamburger. I remember going there as with kids with Donna. So me and Jim went and had a Danny's Hamburger today. Bloody car yards gone, mate. Had good memories of all kids. And as we've seen with the slideshow today, talented. God, like I said to her, I wish I had part of your talent. Could paint, could write, she would sing. She was just so inspirational in lots of ways by listening to people talk, like yourself here today, you know, and Scott here and a few others. So she's touched on everyone, as we all know, because everyone in here has had something to do, you know, and so has Chris. From her 50th, I met some relatives that I didn't meet since I was about that high. Now we've all got a bit older, you know, which is good. And me nieces and something other, what are we, is that cousins? I don't know what we are. I have to say that 50th birthday was an absolutely a blast. She's going to be sorely missed by everyone. She was like a little sister to me. Always looked out for her when we were younger. Of course, as we got older, we all went separate, and she went to England and met Chris. But look, mate, as far as I'm concerned, and I think the other three behind us, you're a great, fantastic person to be with her. Yes, she had a hard, you know, we all had a bit of a hard time in life. We sort of got shifted from pillar to post as kids, but she just seemed to come together when she was with you, which is, you know, absolutely fantastic. So I give you credit as well. You know, the periods just like that. Unfortunately, life is what it is, but she'll always be in our hearts. We've all been touched by her somehow. So anyway, I don't think I've got anything else to say. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Polly chose the shortest reading for me possible. I'd like to think it was because she knew I had a cold, because she kind of knew everything that was going to happen, but I suspect it's because she also knew that I also like to talk a lot. So this is an opportunity for me to say a very little. This poem is called Never Enough. Only a lifetime to seed, to sprout, to grow, to bloom and die. Life, playing hard to get, leaves the lucky ones wanting more. Yeah. Beautiful. This is gorgeous. As you know, Polly's work in autism touched an amazing number of lives, countless number of lives. She was very proud of that work, and I think the world was very proud of her for it also. Polly's invited Joanne, Maria and Gabrielle to share some of their memories, and of course she's got a little intro for you as well. Joanne, Maria and Gabrielle were some of the autism family mothers who allowed me the honour of working with their gorgeous children. I loved my work, the kids and adults I worked with, so many of the warm, beautiful and welcoming families I worked with around the world as an autism consultant since 1996. Having seen all their kids grow up to teens now was such a buzz on my birthday living wake in October. I now know I live on in these families and their children. So Joanne, Maria and Gabrielle, do you want to pop up?
I'm first. I'm not prepared at all. Our tribute to Polly is here, right here. He would not be the boy he is today without her, so we're forever grateful to her. Thank you.
Every day I thank my lucky stars that I was lucky enough to have known Polly. She shared her detailed knowledge with me, which enabled me to increase my awareness of my daughter's challenges and assist me with communicating and interacting with my daughter in a positive and effective way, which has subsequently taught me to successfully guide my daughter in life. Polly once quoted, "Autism, it's a colourful world." I agree, and I would like to say that I am proud to be part of the world full of colour. Thank you, Polly, for opening my eyes. I hope you rest in peace in your new world.
From my first meeting with Polly 7 years ago, I was given hope, guidance and the ability to look at my daughter in a whole new light. I met someone who understood my girl from the inside out, not the outside in. Polly had travelled her road and shared what was going on inside my daughter's mind, a place I couldn't reach. She was truly inspirational and answered questions for me that no one else could. Polly organised and hosted Sunday morning choir sessions for our girls at her home, where we danced, sang and blew bubbles in her lovely garden, celebrating all the colours of the rainbow. She explained to me terms such as face blind and exposure anxiety. I read her books and learnt to understand autism. I can never thank her enough.
It's Polly's story of her desire to dance under the lamppost which lingers with me. The image of her dancing joyously in the spotlight feels very symbolic. Meeting her helped provide light when things seemed so dark. She gave hope and inspiration. She taught us to be accepting and understanding. She provided us with ideas, guidance and much needed support. She helped normalise what seemed completely abnormal. Her colourful and light energy lifted the weight that we carried and cultivated a belief that despite one's challenges, joy and happiness could be achieved. Her spirit shall live on in our hearts and minds. Thank you.
Now, of course, as all of you know, one of the main reasons for Polly's happiness in the last 17 years is this man, Chris. I was privileged to be with all of you at the end there, and I'm enormously proud of the strength and resiliency that you've shown, Chris. I know you had some help with that, but it's testimony to the sort of woman she was, that she found somebody like you. Oh, Sandy's waving at me. Would you like to do that first, seeing as that's on the list?
That's the way Polly's put it down.
Polly says, then you better come on up.
Okay. Sorry, just following Polly's script here, it says afterlife before Chris, so just thought we better follow what Polly says. Can I just say though, I've never seen anybody approach dying in the way Polly approached dying. I tell you, she has set the bar so high, I'm not sure any of us can reach that bar because it was such an extraordinary death. It just blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. Unbelievable. The bar is so high now, I tell you. She's done us all a disservice. We'll never do it. We'll never reach the same heights, ever. Afterlife by Polly. Between dreams, we just sleep, like a spaceman floating, thoughtless in space. You can't be lost. You have invested in so many souls. Those investments are pieces of you, of your personhood, your essence, your soul, already planted like seeds within others. Every other person who took those seeds and grew differently because of them. You may lose the body, but all you lose is possession of consciousness. For what our soul was lives on in all we've touched. The power of nostalgia following death. What the dead person leaves behind is much more powerful a presence than when they were just on a phone with them. We don't have to own that consciousness. It is the ultimate freedom, setting that free, letting it go to allow everyone else to carry our soul without effort. If the one you loved were in another room, are they still there with you somehow, within your soul? But are they currently aware of that as they sleep or read in another room? Maybe, maybe not. Does it matter? No. What matters is the trust that we have truly lived our life, in which we continually invested pieces of our soul in others. And they will in turn invest some of that into others we may never even live to meet. Yet still, our essence will be there. Polly.
And now, Chrissy, you get yours. This is what Polly had to say. I felt home the moment he walked down the stairs at a mutual friend's house. We journeyed together, grew together, lived, laughed, loved, and learned to trust each other. He was the big bear, I was small bear. He was Wook, and I was Woo. He moved me from the other side of the earth. He moved with me from the other side of the earth, I should say, and in 2011, we saved each other's lives. Finally, he was the man, the hero. We walked each other through my last journey from resident tourist, from the waiting room to the bus stop. We had the marriage others might dream of. As we walked through the adventures of my last 5 months, we found ourselves living a life so epic. It was like the film Titanic. But we also enjoyed fart jokes, slapstick, and dancing as ghosts to Ghostbusters just for light relief. My family, my husband, my bestie, my home, my belonging. For 17 years and now, beyond where I will walk with him, safe and at home in his heart as he journeys through his new life.
Cool, those intros are like little emotional time bombs. Baby traps. Ah. Right. Well, I did actually write something because I knew I needed some guidance, and because, you know, in honour of Polly's planning, I think the only thing we didn't plan was about where people would sit when you came in. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. So ends the poem by Welsh poet Dylan Thomas. That was not Polly's style. She most definitely did want to go gently. And on the night of Saturday, the 22nd of April, she stole away quietly while sleeping. It was the Thursday night before that she decided that enough was enough. The once-a-week drains had become twice a week, and new symptoms were raising their head. The road ahead looked uninviting, and so she emailed the oncologist late that night to say she didn't want the Friday drain and instead wanted to come into the palliative ward. Not the Kumbaya people, different people, just so we're clear. The first thing Friday they called to say, come in. And so we headed off, having said goodbye to house and cats. We said hi to the usual suspects on the way into the hospital, and Polly had a dance with Helena, as so often before. Scott and Morgana joined us there, and Marisol arrived by Skype. We had brought in Easter eggs, snacks, raspberry lemonade, and even a sip or two of sake. We'd brought, music was vital, and so we brought a CD player and CDs. We ate, drank, sang, danced, and generally made merry in the room, and the nurses were kind enough not to ask us to keep the noise down. The morphine pump arrived that afternoon, and I won't begin apologies. And eventually she started to doze. And asked us all to leave. She wanted to make that final transition alone. When she did that next night, Scott and I were in the lounge right next to her room, just on the other side of the wall. There was no sign, no lights dimming, no crack of thunder to signal her passing. Just a nurse coming to say, this time I need a hug. She's gone. Death was not a taboo subject for us. We talked about everything. We cried, laughed, hugged, walked, skipped, planned and celebrated during those 7 months from diagnosis to death. When crying, we would ask each other and ourselves if this feeling was sad, poignant, or epic. I don't think we mentioned Titanic at the time, but you know. She had no fear of talking to others about death or seeing the humour in it. She would joke that she was buying food with a longer use-by date than herself. I really think the society's fear of talking about death is unhealthy and makes this rite of passage much more difficult for every one of us. Lecture over on that part anyway. Polly's foresight was fantastic. She knew what she wanted for this whole process. We planned a treatment, a palliation, and this memorial all with the same care. Sorry, Sandy. She's even bought and wrapped 5 years' worth of birthday and Christmas presents for me, with instructions to open them on Skype with our friend Marisol, so I'm not alone when I'm doing so. The bond between Polly and myself was so very strong. We'd been together since last century. Over 17 years ago in December 1999, we met by accident at a mutual friend's in the UK. I was there to tell them how my life had fallen apart, and she was there because her visiting cousin had insisted on having a tarot read by our friend. Later that week was the fateful call from this friend. She said, "I hope you know how much this means. I had to ring my ex-husband to get your number." Polly would like to meet you again. So began that crazy shared journey between the two of us. We were madly in love and married a year later. Polly, of course, asked me to marry her. Sitting together on the Malvern Hills in the UK, looking out across rolling countryside. When I said yes, a flock of birds erupted from a nearby tree. It was a good sign. As an aside, she said she wanted to ask me, because that way she knew that she was getting married of her own volition, not because I'd asked her. And that was so important. We shared so much in our lives, including a love of nature, a strong belief in equality, and a wish to make and eat good food. Not that we were that good at cooking it back then. I tried to teach her technology, and she tried to teach me how to teach her technology. And it was a very valuable lesson, let me tell you. I've used that in my professional career. It's so important. She always challenged herself and looked to find the best in any situation. She told me that in the early days of lecturing, after Nobody Nowhere was published, she would end up crying and snotty and unable to understand what she was saying and having to trust that the words she was reading off the page made sense. People asked her why she put herself through this. Her answer was, because it makes going to the shops look easy. Or because it makes going to the shops easier for me. In art too, she didn't shrink a challenge. She painted, sculpted, composed, played and sang. Her second ever sculpture was a life-size bronze woman modelled on herself. You'll see it at the start of the video coming up. After doing it, she was asked how on earth she could go from a tiny first sculpture to a full-size bronze. Her answer was, well, nobody told me I couldn't. I think that's a lesson for life. Yeah. Polly was a true egalitarian. She saw everyone equal. Anne, for instance, had no truck with either seeing people with autism as broken, normal people, nor those who saw people with autism as more advanced than non-autistic neurotypicals. She thought none of us were typical. She also strongly believed in seeing the person, not the condition, because there's always a human in there. And they're as much deserving of respect and acknowledgement as any other human. Polly could also have a profound effect on people just through her everyday life, personal contact. Because with Polly, there was no professional versus private persona. She could just be as insightful or intuitive or buzzy or dagging, whether on or off duty. And sometimes several or all of these at once. I know from speaking to people over the years, including over these past few weeks, that she changed how some people lived for the better, without often realizing it. Whether it was by inspiring a realization that you need to balance your work against your family time, or by skipping down the street for fun, or by her skipping down the street for fun, showing that when you're with your kids, it's okay to skip with them without caring what anyone else thinks, as it's really good fun to do. And her and I used to skip down Burwood Highway together and not care about the traffic. I've not even begun to scratch the surface of what Polly meant to me, but I'll leave you with one last story. Once Polly was about to fly in a plane, and she asked the check-in person about getting an aisle seat so she wasn't surrounded by people. The person asked if there was any special reason for this, and Polly said, because I'm autistic. The person looked annoyed and said, I'm sorry, but being artistic is no reason for special treatment. Thank you, and with that, I'd like to introduce Andrew from the UK, who along with Gavin from Ireland, who are maybe watching this now or maybe later, came and visited us after diagnosis last year to film Polly with a view to making a documentary. So, Andrew? Yes, a change from the advertised programme. Sorry, Polly. Not sorry.
Yeah, I'm assuming I have your permission, Polly. I first met Polly because I was working on a children's programme for the BBC in the UK about autism. It was going to be it's a preschool programme that we're making, but representing a boy on the spectrum who draws and his drawings become animated, and it gives you an insight to how he sees the world. And we were looking for people to help us, and we contacted Polly. And Polly completely took me under her wing, and we talked on Skype a lot. And I kind of went to the University of Polly, where she would say, you need a 101 on this, and just tell me all this stuff. And slowly I tried to absorb all of this. She wrote stories, she put ideas into the show, she changed the way a lot of the show worked, and she brought in other people to help us and to write with us. And then after we'd been working together for almost a year, she had another idea, and she said, I'm getting the rights to Nobody Nowhere back, because she'd sold the film rights. I'm thinking of doing a new version of the story, maybe using animation, approaching it differently. Maybe we could write a script together. So I thought, wow, this is amazing. And we were just waiting to do this. And then her illness came back. And so I thought that this wouldn't happen. And I was very sad. But she suddenly called me and said, do you want to Skype? And I said, okay, when? She said, how about half an hour? And we had a conversation, and she said, I want to do this. I've got a new idea. I will just record myself telling the story, and then you can put some animation to it afterwards. And that turned into us coming and filming Polly. So we were here for a week, and we basically filmed the film that she wanted to make. She made a plan, as usual. She found places that she wanted to be filmed. She had an idea of what she wanted to say, and we shot all this film, which we're still working on, and which we're going to show a clip of in a minute. And after we went back, we continued to talk, and she still wanted to use animation, and she had another idea, and that idea was to start to write some animation, which turned into working on a feature film script together, which is another version of her life told through animation, and told through the kind of dreamscapes and language that she used in her art. And of course, when we were here, Polly had us skipping down the town and dancing in the kitchen, and we had a great time working together. And we were working together right up until we finished the first draft of the scripts, just the week that she passed away, on the Monday. So I'd like to show you this little clip, just a taste of what we're hoping to do with the film. And to say that one of the other people who worked on the show with us sent a message to me saying, Polly is the sparkles. And when I saw this here, I felt like she's here. Thank you.
Thanks. Now that's my old body. This is pre-mastectomy. The first thing that the GP said was, he said, I'm so very, very sorry. He said, you know, this is not a curable situation. But at least, instead of being unable to eat, unable to drink, struggling to breathe, struggling to speak, really uncomfortable, really such a lot of pressure because the liver was like enlarging, full of tumours. The Cinderella drug shrunk things enough that I got able to eat like usual, got able to drink, got able to breathe without trouble and talk blah, 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 blah. But enough to allow me to pack up my life as a permanent resident, as a temporary resident, and get used to my tourist life. In the theme park of life, we all get a ticket, and there's no refunds, no regrets, no mistakes, no exchange. Some are born with the burden of being overloved, and some are walking fruit salads who are born to be strange. And some are torn between girl, between boy and their body. Some are worn out by desire to just one day be somebody. Some are like oil and water, like a soul that's torn in two. Some are torn between being an I and a you. Some will struggle with privilege and seem born to want more. Some are born to compete, to compare, to keep score. Some are fooled by the way the appear clouds the be. Some are faced with frustration of all the things they can't be. But just one step in front of the other each day. In the end, that's all we're expected to take.
I'm practicing greeting death with enthusiasm. But that cheered me up. Should always look on the bright side of life. Do you do?
Man, love. Look, on behalf of Polly and Chris, thank you all for coming along today. As you know, Polly has thousands of friends and followers around the world, but as you know, you're the people she asked to be here today, and I hope you realise how important that is. I was going to leave you, there's refreshments afterwards, by the way, so please stick around and have a chat with each other. There's music that, no surprises, Polly has picked, playing afterwards. Some of it's very boppy, so if there's a bit of more dancing going on, that's good. I was going to leave you with one poem, which I will, not hers actually, somebody else's, Michael Lunick. But before I did, when I got here, I hadn't seen these programs, and so Polly's little face was sitting here, and my iPad was open, and I could hear a little giggle in the back of the head, and I realised on my iPad was something that could very well have come from Polly herself, and I think it's a nice thing, a nice little message for you, maybe, that she might approve of, and it says, "Don't sit on the couch and wait for it. Go out, make a change, smile more, be excited, do new things, throw away," oops, sorry, I'm losing my thing here. "Throw away what you've been cluttering, unfollow negative people, go to bed early, wake up early, be fierce, don't gossip, show more gratitude, do things that challenge you, and be brave." And I think that pretty much sums up how she pretty much lived her life. But let me leave you with this Michael Lunick poem, a favourite one that we used to share a bit. I remember when it first came out in The Age, and we had it on our fridge. And I love this. "Let it go. Let it out. Let it all unravel. Let it free, and it can be a path on which to travel." And on that note, I'd say travel well, Polly, and travel well, everybody here, and thank you so much for coming.
Sorry to share my tissue with you. Just enough for myself.
How was that, mate? All right? Yeah.
It was good intense, though.
Beautiful.
Sorry, you first.
Thanks. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, it's totally fair.
I don't know, do you?